And here we are again. Welcome back to the PT Graduate Podcast. My guest today. Now, hopefully I'll get this surname right, Rick. Rick Gutzewitz.
Yeah, pretty good.
Ooh.
Yeah, Gutzewitz.
Gutzewitz. Okay, close. I should have practiced that really before I hit record, but anyway, it is what it is. Anyway, good to meet you and make contact and have you on the podcast. Really appreciate your time today. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
That's great. So I've done a little bit of homework. Now, I imagine there's going to be some gaps and that you can fill in for me. So you're a relative newcomer to the fitness industry, but it's something that sort of, does it feel like it's been a bit of a calling for you, having born and bred where you are now in Queenstown, in the beautiful South?
Yeah, so I got my qualification back in 2016.
Okay.
When I was working in the film industry. It was a bit of a slow period during that time, and I decided to make use of my time and upskill myself. And didn't get to use my qualification until I moved down to Queenstown, which was in 2019.
Yeah.
But previous to all of that, I grew up in this incredible location where outdoor activities and all of the sport and all of the accessibility to movement and those opportunities that came with it came very natural to me, especially in my childhood.
Yeah.
So all I needed was a bit of a push, a bit of a comparison to realize where I was heading in the film industry wasn't true to who I was.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
So
I decided to make a change in my life that was going to help people help themselves. There was a turning point for me in the film industry where I realized that it just didn't sit right with what I was doing and where I was going, and I just wanted to be able to help people and uplift people. It was a very natural calling for me. So I moved down here in 2019 and got a personal training role at the gym at the QEC, Queenstown Event Centre.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I started developing my own style of training, which evolved around more of a holistic approach.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I stumbled across when I was doing a little bit of digging, and I guess that kind of aligns with my approach as well. And I'm keen to explore that a little bit because it's just something I'm very interested in, and love to hear your take on that and what you've done and how that's evolved for you. Working in that facility, are you exclusively there with clients, or do you see clients elsewhere as well?
So I've literally just made the shift today to do more outside trainings, which is more involved with nature. Where previous today I was more isolated to the gym, and I found with these current unfolding events of this pandemic, that we needed to have, my clients needed to have more connection with nature because it has such a healing attribute to it. So I'm only contracted to that gym, and I'm now making the transition with a bit more diversity with location.
Got you. So what does that mean exactly? Are you going to be working obviously with clients outdoors, but does that mean sort of a gym style session that involves equipment that you take out with you, or you're using nature to create the session, or how does that come together?
Good question. We've got some old equipment lying around the farm here, which with me and my business partner has jimmied up. And we've got battle ropes, we've got chopped logs, we've got boxes. So it's using a lot of the natural equipment lying around that's useful. So, things like big old tractor tires we used to have here on the farm, and sledgehammers.
Cool.
Yeah, just being creative with what we have available to us. But the plan is down the track is to be able to have our own outdoor playground for adults.
Awesome. That sounds a bit of me. Sounds like a bit of fun. That does. You know what sort of came into my head as you were describing all that stuff was when you've seen those, you may have seen those outdoor gyms at fancy hotels, but they use like Flintstone equipment. You know, it's like it's got rounds that are the plates and dumbbells that are made out of, you know, chunks of wood, and it looks like fitness equipment, but it's made out of wood and you know, natural resources, and it's fully kitted out, but it's not made of the stuff you'd find indoors. It's like, oh
yeah, I guess that was one of the inspirations, was that when we're in a gym, it feels very robotic with a lot of the machines that are available. And I guess I wanted to move my clients away from that linear way of working and actually getting them moving more functionally with equipment that they might be familiar with.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, a lot of the stuff in the gym can be quite an intimidating a thing to approach if you're not that familiar. Whereas, as you say, using the natural resources around you is far more familiar to the general public, so could make that transition easier.
Yes, and far more functional as well. I guess our bodies are meant to work in all sorts of different directions, so if we can replicate that outside, then that's the way to do it.
Yeah, I see you've got that focus on the myofascial system, and obviously that relates to that multi-directional piece. Is that something that you've done some additional study, or something you've sort of just worked on yourself and schooled up on? How has that come about?
Nice. Yeah, so my first introduction to connective tissue and fascia in the world that's involved with it was first introduced to me by a guy named Aaand O'Dwyer, which many might be familiar with.
Yeah.
So I did his level 1 immersion course, which was 3 days in Christchurch.
Okay.
That sparked my interest. That started my journey and my passion for looking a little bit deeper out of surface level. And when I started looking, I realized that I actually don't know anything.
It's quite scary, isn't it?
The more you look, the less you know. And it's really got me thinking more intuitively about how we work with our fascia. One of the other education trainings I had was through a lady called Beth Beauchamp, and she runs myofascial courses for manual therapy. So not only did I get the trainings for tools such as foam rollers and balls, but also with hands-on experience through Beth and her courses.
Okay.
Which I highly recommend.
I've just scribbled a name down. Thank you.
So from all of these courses, it's inspired me to work on my own practices, and this is where probably the most depth of my learning has come from, is from my routines that I have applied with my trainings and with my lifestyle. And I think the biggest thing that has come out of all of these learnings has all been about body awareness. It's and how in tune you can be with your body. I know what you mean. When you learn that stuff, some of that stuff, and you start to feel a niggle, you kind of go, that's new. You know, that awareness is already there, whereas before that may not have been the case. And then your brain starts going, okay, what's causing that? Where should I go next? You know, and you start trying to unravel it so you can fix yourself and go, but where's the root cause? Why is that pelvis feeling different on the right to the left?
And it's fascinating, isn't it? Because, if you're N equals 1 working on your own body like that, that's, that you're halfway there for helping your clients, especially if they have the same thing. Not necessarily going to be the same root cause, but it kind of gets the brain thinking in a certain way.
Yes, I find that we learn more by doing rather than theory. So by applying it to yourself, you have these foundations that you can work from to navigate your clients' journeys with their niggles. As you said, not everyone's the same. And so if you get them intrigued with where they can take their myofascial engagement principles, then that's the best thing you can do, is just start the process.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's good. I've got a couple of nice references there for myself, but also for people listening that may not know as much about the myofascial system as you do. Then they can start digging. What are the other aspects of the holistic approach that you look at, Rick, in terms of your practice and things that you've either you're chipping away at, or things you've already learned that fill in that holistic approach?
Good question. There's two things that come to mind. One would be my own practices revolved around meditation.
Okay.
And so for me, this has helped me become more conscious of who I am and my authentic self, and then therefore has a ripple effect onto my clients. And so I've started to learn the power of subtlety through these practices, and that it doesn't have to be go, let's bash our muscles, body into the ground. Because what I'm seeing is that a lot of issues stem from the mental health side of things. Because we know we can't separate the physical health from the mental health, so they're directly related. And a lot of the time our behaviors are influenced from our programming that we receive from when we're younger. So what I've learned through my meditation practices is to slow down, is to breathe and feel and listen. And when we start to be able to give ourselves those simple cues, we start talking to ourselves in a way that we wouldn't normally talk to. So a lot of, for example, self-compassion. When you start tuning in, you realize, oh man, my breathing isn't happy, which is obviously, affecting my nervous system. Maybe I should just sit with my breathing and actually just give it a little bit of attention like it hasn't before. So it's examples like that have really helped me from my meditation, help my clients. Because if I can give them the tools to be self-sufficient, then they don't have to rely on external practitioners to empower their own lives.
They can do it for themselves.
They can do it for themselves, and I think that's what we really need these days is people looking after themselves and not relying on other people or
I like that. That ties back into what you were talking about being out in nature and allowing them to benefit from the healing powers of nature, which once they realize that and notice it and feel the difference, they can do it anytime they like. Then those two things marry together nicely.
100%. And the second point that comes to mind as well from that holistic approach is cold therapies that I've been getting into quite a bit recently. So we've got a portable sauna here down on the farm, which we've used for various events, more for community projects. But the main principle of what we do here is hot cold rest. And not only is there a huge amount of benefits to the hot therapy with being in a sauna, sitting around roughly 85, even 90 degrees, there's a huge amount of benefit for that, but also the cold water as well. There's just endless amounts of studies and benefits to that. So that's been a huge aspect for me personally, and for a bunch of my clients as well, because it's actually helped them wake up in terms of the fact that when you put your body into extremes, into challenge, then we find that growth stems from challenge. And so when you're pushing your mental and physical resilience and the heat and in the cold, then you come out the other side a stronger person.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. What are the community events that you referred to a second ago? What have you been using the sauna for with people, with groups, or?
So not only do I work for myself as a personal trainer, but I've partnered up with another wellness coach here in Queenstown, and we've come together with a concept called Wellspace. And Wellspace is a concept where it's based around community connection, focusing on connection with yourself, connection with other people, and then connection with nature. So everything that I'm doing is actually marrying itself really nicely together. And so all we do with Wellspace is we hold a container for people to be able to explore these three different concepts. Connection with themselves, connection with other people, connection with nature. And it's as simple as that. And we've found it to be super effective in helping people with their mental health. Incredibly effective. And so really passionate about this project that we're doing. And we actually believe that this is a parallel structure that we're creating from the traditional world, that is going to be sustainable for the future. And that's really exciting to be able to be a part of that.
Yeah, that is exciting. So do those events do you hold them sort of on a regular basis, or is it, you set up a date and then you just see if enough people are interested? How does it roll?
Yeah, good question. Sorry, I'll just get out the light here.
Yeah.
So before lockdown, we had tickets available on Eventbrite for the public to be able to just jump on and be a part of. And we were building a really cool tribe with these people that were coming along, because your vibe makes the tribe and your tribe makes the vibe. And so we were getting a lot of cool, like-minded people from the community we'd never met before come in. And we were holding 2 time slots, two groups of 20. They'd come in, 10 people would jump in the sauna and then go cold plunge, and then the other 10 would cycle through, and it would just be continuous. And then that would last for 3 hours, where they had free range of the sauna, the cold plunge, and the chill space that we have, which is a marquee setup with cushions and heater and a changing space. So it was very comfortable. And then the other group would come in after that 20, the first 20 people were finished, and we were having 40 people rolling through, and would be doing that once or twice a week.
Wow, great.
And we're making it quite affordable, $20-$25 donation. So we're really happy with how that was rolling before the lockdown.
Right,
And so now things have had to change, and we've had to obviously work around the guidelines that are currently restricting us from doing the public attendance.
Yeah. Tricky. Smaller tribes.
We live in, isn't it?
Smaller tribes, I suppose. So you could still do it, but just restrict the numbers. Would that be sufficient?
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're actually, because we made such an awesome community of friends, we're now doing it as a private social gathering, and so that's let us work around a lot of these restrictions.
Nice. Okay, brilliant. Do you see this being? It sounds like this could become something quite big potentially. Something you could roll out in a number of locations around the country potentially. With as long as they've got those key pieces of equipment, that same tribe and vibe could be replicated potentially.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And so we're currently working on systems where we can actually create an efficient community network through a specific program called Discord. Don't know if you've heard of it before.
No.
But it gets the whole community in touch with each other in one place. And then the idea from this is to be able to be fully decentralized as well down the track. And then within this community, you can start to create a way of collaborating with one another without having to rely on big companies. So it puts the power back into the people, basically, is what we're wanting to do.
Brilliant. I like it. That sounds very exciting. It's great to have those sort of projects going. Obviously you've got the more traditional client, trainer relationship, but having these communities that, I guess, when people visit those things, that's an opportunity for them to get to know you and find out more about you and how you work, and can be a nice little feeder for the PT business to encourage clients to, well, actually, this is how I work, and etc. That to me sounds like it's a win-win. You're obviously doing it for its own good reasons, but there's no reason why you couldn't have a decent amount of crossover between the businesses.
It all feeds each other.
Yeah, right, both ways. Yeah.
So I like to think of it as a bit of an ecosystem, that it all supports one another. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Very cool. I was listening to a podcast the other day about hydrotherapy and the hot cold thing, and I think the example this guy used was Sweden, where the ownership of forgotten the name of the word, the hot, it's gone straight out of my head, the sauna.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mind blank. The ownership of saunas, and I'm pretty sure it's, I think it's one of those Scandinavian countries, Denmark or Sweden, I think, was like 96, 97%, just phenomenally high. Every house that, 90 odd percent of households all had one. And he was saying that, they're already onto this. They've been onto this for a long, long time, because they have a lot less daylight than many other countries. So the way that they buffer their immune system is by this practice, which obviously you're talking about, because obviously with our lack of daylight, there's less vitamin D, which obviously is a major contributor to immunity. And so the rest of the world is slowly playing catch up, because, there are long periods of time where we don't have enough daylight, sunny hours to help boost our immunity. And I just thought it was fascinating. Countries that do get that don't need that, whereas countries in Scandinavia particularly are in a struggle with that amount of daylight, and so have this mechanism which is just normal life to them.
Yeah, well, especially if you're locked down in an apartment, you're definitely not going to get your vitamin D, are you? Not those doses that you normally should be getting. But there are other ways to boost your immune system, and sauna is an incredibly beneficial practice, because what we see is it's a vasodilator, and so it's basically when you jump into these hot extremes, your capillaries and your veins will open up, and it starts to flush out any buildups that we might find in these areas, and it actually opens up areas of the body it normally doesn't open up, and we start to flush out stagnant toxins and blood that are built up in our muscles. So it's a very detoxifying and cleansing process with the sauna. Not only are we sweating out all the filth out of our skin, we're also helping increase the flexibility of our fascia as well. And it's just so good for the cardiovascular system. So good.
Yeah, I have yet to experience it fully. I have to make a point of getting into it. I interviewed a young lady, Amy, forgotten her surname, a few episodes ago, and she's very much into the Wim Hof practice, and she's in an apartment in Auckland, and getting ice up and down the lift, and the cost of extra ice is crazy. So she came up with a solution of either nipping out and jumping in the ocean, or whatever. If she could find an ice bath, then she'd do an ice bath. But there's plenty of pockets around the place now that people are very much on board with this as a part of their routine.
Yeah, I can definitely vouch for the benefits of Wim Hof or Tumo or any of those other breathing techniques like that. I do it on a daily, every morning, and it's the most invigorating practice. It is an incredible way to naturally wake up you from your sleep. I don't believe you need coffee in the morning. You just need some good breath work. So any water source is good to get yourself into some cold exposure. Showering in the mornings, I start with hot, but then I go to cold, and I start some breathing practices in the cold water. There's thousands of different ways that you can do your breathing. There's no right or wrong way to do anything. I think that's the cool thing about it, is that you can be quite adventurous and curious with these practices, and enjoy the practice, and without worrying if you're doing it right or wrong.
Sure.
I think that's the coolest thing about it, is it's not strict. It's very free flow, and you can do whatever you want with practices. But I highly recommend at least 3 times a week jumping in cold water, or any sort of cold water immersions.
Okay.
And if you can get into the good habit of doing conscious breathing at least once a day.
Absolutely. Fantastic. There must be some great things that you found transferable from previous roles into what you're doing now, the things that have kind of stuck with you, that have been winners in terms of just being successful. I guess for this podcast, helping our audience with things that have successes or failures that prevents other people from making the same mistakes. Are there any sort of anything off the top of your head that you can think, well, yep, that was the thing that sort of stuck with you because it worked so well, or vice versa, that because it didn't? Any hot tips?
Yeah, I guess one of the biggest ones for me, generally speaking, is communication, and that goes with any relationship that you're in.
Yeah.
Having that communication and setting your values, or communicating your values with your clients at the very beginning, has been extremely beneficial for creating a trustworthy relationship with my clients. When I've created trust with my clients, then they're going to be open with the direction with everything is going. And from there, we can actually work together to redirect them onto a path that's going to benefit them more. So, for example, if I was training them a particular style and they were hating it, then they wouldn't they wouldn't come back after a couple of months.
Yeah.
But if they said, hey, look, I'm not kind of feeling this, or I didn't like this exercise, then I'll talk them through it and I'll say, sweet, we don't have to do that.
Yep.
And so I think having that communication, trust, and I guess it's sort of that conscious presence aspect where I get my clients to make a commitment to me, and when I see that commitment come through, then that's when you start to really do the work.
Right.
That's when you
Yeah.
So yeah, as communication is the biggest one that comes to mind. And plus lessons are learned in hindsight. Lessons are learned in hindsight. You might not be able to see the lesson in the moment, but if you do some reflecting at the end of the night and think, how did that session go? Then you'll start to kind of feel into the things that you could have improved on. So reflection. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. It's just scribbling. Cool. Yeah, nice. That's great, Rick. Thank you. Any question I haven't asked? I used to ask this regularly and I've got out of the habit, but any question I didn't ask that I should have done?
No, I'm good. I don't want to get too controversial.
Oh, okay.
We are moving into times that are really tough, and they're going to be really difficult. And I guess if I were to kind of finish on a note, it would be to really just support each other, and with compassion, empathy, and love. It's as simple as that. And try and understand where people are coming from. Things are going to get tougher. Just with the way things are going, there's going to be more divergence, more separation, and I think it's even more important for us to stick together and build community and build connection. I really do. I think connection is our true currency.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And an awesome note to finish on. So thank you, Rick. I really appreciate your time today. Didn't even get onto the PT Council and the ambassador stuff, but that was the main that was the main reason for contacting you, because I'm wanting to talk to all the ambassadors, because you do such great work for everybody. So side note, thank you for that as well. And yeah, no, I really appreciate everything you've shared today, Rick. And we must plan a version 2, I reckon, because I think there's more to come.
Oh yeah, there's some big plans in the pipeline, so I'd love to update you
Awesome.
with how we're going with that down the track.
That would be fantastic. Awesome. Thank you, Rick. All right, take care. Cheers. Bye.
Oh, thank you.